Well, g'day everyone. It's the Tilbury Cops, and as always, we are back. Damo, how are you, mate?
Good, mate. Good. We're back again. I'm down in Wallerawang, which those playing along at home is a little town just to the west of Lithgow. Down here training. It's Forestry Corporation, New South Wales. We're doing their fire camp. So I think it's the second fire camp of the year, and we're training firefighters, advanced firefighters, and crew leaders all in the same hit. And it's been a bloody good week. So, it's very busy. We're very full on, but it's been good fun. What about you, mate? What are you up to?
Well, mate, yeah. As some of you may know, I'm involved in politics, and we got the state election coming up. So, yeah, mate, I haven't got time to think, and I'm also doing my business and this podcast, mate. So, I don't think either of us had much time, really.
No, not much, mate. Not much. But that's okay. That's good. That's what we like. Yeah.
That's right. Hey, mate, before we actually start, I'm just gonna kick off because we're gonna do a couple of shout outs. But there's one we got in trouble this week, mate.
Did we?
Yes. Mark Berry.
Oh, righto. What happened there?
Well, actually, it's probably more on me than it was on you because I knew he is now because he's actually resigned. He's now a Sparky up in Redcliffe, and then he's listened to all our podcast episodes, and he heard the one on Anzac Day. And we didn't get in contact with him to have a beer because he lives in Redcliffe.
Oh, that's a shame because I like Mark. He's a good bloke. That would have been good. I didn't even know he was out of the job. There you go.
Well, mate, I'd actually spoken to him probably about 6 months a year ago, and I actually knew he was up there, and I completely forgot about it. So I do apologise, Mark. You're a top bloke. For anybody interested, he really, really helped when my ex had to go on sick leave, and I had to go on sick leave to care for her as well. He really, really took care of all our jobs and made our life far less stressful. He did an excellent job, and he was an outstanding cop. So, mate, a big shout out to him. And I have agreed, Damo, that what I did is a cartonable offence. And so next time we catch up with him, I will be paying a carton as a price.
Very good.
Now, Damo, just before we actually do another shout out, do you want to explain to the people what a cartonable offence means?
Yeah, we can do that. So, a cartonable offence is basically it's determined by others, and if you want to complain about what the penalty that's been given out for whatever indiscretion, or it's mostly to do with self promotion or things like that, or if you've done something stupid and all the rest of it, it's a carton, and it's all good. We live in a democracy, and it's you can appeal all the rest of it, but the cost to appeal a cartonable offence is a carton. So that's how it rolls. That's a cartonable offence.
And to contest it, you go to the kangaroo court.
Yeah, which entry fee's a carton. So
that's right. Yeah, so anyway, mate, you continue. You continue with your shout out.
Yeah. So listen, I've been pretty hectic, as I said, but literally a couple of hours ago, a good mate of ours called T-Bone, or mate, I don't know if you knew him, but he got in touch with me. He's written a pretty long post, but he's got some excellent points in there that we'll probably have to read through, and I'll speak to him and we'll go back and forth. T-Bone was in traffic in Darwin, and anyway, he's pointed out a few good things and talking about what we're up to, and with what we're talking about camaraderie and the police club, and how there was a bit of a culture of pushback against the police club early on, or as in the later years. But he's actually put a PS after it, and this is where I want to just clarify a few things. I'll read it out to you. His PS was, "Give us traffic guys a break." It's funny. He goes, "I recall at PMC one day, I went to do laser calibration check down the side, but other people were there and had blocked up the exit." So PMC is the Peter McCauley Centre in Darwin, which is the major headquarters for all the investigative sides. A lot of specialised police work out of there, and it's also the police college. He said, "I did a lap of the car park to come back, and I said, I remember seeing you, and you gave me a look of disgust. I can only assume you thought I was checking staff number plates." He goes, "This is something I would never do in a million years. I know other traffic guys would, but maybe there was a little bit of bias in assuming what I was doing. Anyway, I found during my time in traffic there are some certainly lone wolves, and it was an interesting place to work." T-Bone, my face is disgusting. Simple as that. I don't remember the incident, but I I was probably staring into the sun because I don't remember the incident, and I've always held T-Bone in pretty high regard, so I wouldn't have been looking at him like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I need to have a chat to him, but it's just I got the message late, and then we've just started recording, so I thought I'd read his message out and just to quantify that I certainly wasn't looking at him in particular in disgust at all. It wouldn't have been happening, but anyway, and like we talked about with the traffic side of things, it's all I was saying is it can be done well, and it can be done badly. And when it's done badly, it can cause a lot of problems for the relationship between the community and policing. And it's not so much even carrying out your role and being a traffic cop and giving tickets. It's more that unfortunately some police who do have interactions with people don't necessarily engage with people very well, and I think that's where that comes from. But anyway, we've flogged that horse to death, Schultzy.
Yeah, we have, mate. Hey, and I'm just going to say something. That look you had on your face. I'm just going to. Sorry, mate. I've got to say this from Top Gun Maverick. I don't like that look, Damo.
Only look I got. Yeah.
So, for anybody's interest, usually when Damo and I catch up, we tend to watch Top Gun Maverick. So it's one of our favourites. Yeah, it is. So, mate, you happy for me to do a couple more shout-outs?
Yeah, and run through that. I'm interested to hear about Chris Killian, the list, because that'll lead on to what we're going to talk about today.
It will do, mate. Firstly, I'm just going to touch on Jack. Jack Thomas got in contact with us, and mate, he just said he'd love to hear a longer episode, and then he said, but I'll save the story for another day. Please don't. I want to hear it. So we'll try and remember that. So if everybody else is happy for us to keep it on going and tell another story, then let us know.
For sure. We deliberately try and keep it short, but that's 30 to 40 minutes, but that's all right. Whatever you need.
Right. Exactly. So anyway, mate, so we got a really long, nice message from Chris Killen, and it basically goes through his career. So I'm just going to read some of it out.
Yeah.
So he said he was just short of 44 years service. He joined as a cadet under the minimum age in February 1981, and that was the first of an endless run of good luck. So he said Groot, Jabiru, Jaron, Darwin GDs. He got the gig at PCYC and then helped to get facilities like the gym, the hall, swimming pool, and which were never part of the PMC original plans. He did 7 years in TRG, then Bush again to Tiwis, back to CAS and CIB, various GDs Bush relief stints, a stint in East Timor with the UN, and then back home to Drug Squad, Water Police, with 2 more extended Drug Squad relief stints, coroners, and finally General Dog's body role in major crime. He said, and he said, I've been cutting out accumulated leave for over, 2.5 years. Best posting ever.
Absolutely.
He said, every posting was so different. It's like a new career. So while you're talking this job, you could talk about the variety of roles available. It's taken me to New Zealand, the earthquake response that was in Christchurch, and shout out to Miriam and her mum and stepdad over here at the moment. It come from Christchurch, to Timor, and just about every other state and courses and jobs. Police diving, taken me to New South Wales, South Australia several times, with SAR and tactical training always seem to be scheduled in the heart of winter. Managed to collect a few good yarns over the years, which I'll tell in appropriate company, as we all understand that, anybody that's been a cop. Through CPP jobs, I've met a heap of prominent people, PMs.
Sorry, mate, I'll stop you right there. CPP, for those who don't know, is close personal protection for dignitaries, and it's carried out by the tactical units in each police force. So they're trained basically like the Secret Service in the US. They're trained to protect dignitaries, and that's, close personal protection.
Yep.
Sorry.
So prominent people, PMs, Gigi's, even Nelson Mandela, and now King Charles and Lady Di. Um, so yeah, he said one of his goals was to visit every single police station in the NT, and almost got there. He said, oh, I think we might even had a few recent commissioners didn't get that close. Overall, it's been an interesting life, a job that changed enormously, but it still remains the same beast as it was back in 1981, just done differently. You're presented with a problem, you find a solution. Sometimes that involves the application of law, sometimes not. Especially true for bush cops, where it might require you to umpire a footy game between rivals, adjudicate a finger fight, or get a runaway, or get the runway lit or graded, or get the power back on. When people don't know what to do, they call the cops. Sometimes it's proactive. I've taken juvie crime fishing and crabbing. My partner would take them hunting. The difference in those kids was instant when driving around town handing out food to elders from the back of the police car. One of those kids became council president and one joined the job. Yep. Satisfaction in the job can be immediate, but sometimes comes in strange ways. I once locked up a junkie chick who was not much more than a speed hump on a wild bender, and she tried to kill us by ramming us with a car. No one was hurt, but the police compound looked like a scene from Blues Brothers movie set. A lot of broken cars. Meth was her life. Unfortunately, she had little kids. Fortunately, she hit rock bottom and was intelligent enough to realise. I got her the help she needed, and she managed to rebuild a life. My mates teased Detective Care Bear a fair bit, but I kept on trying with her and got her to break the meth bungee cord. Yeah, so he basically just goes on about some of the great stuff that you know you can achieve in the police, and I think it's important to realise that. So, mate, do you just want to go on a bit more about what he's talking about there?
Yeah, so firstly, Killer could have saved a lot of time by just saying, this is what I didn't do in the police force.
Yeah. Because there's plenty more here, mate.
Oh, no doubt, yeah. So, I mean, for one, you got a fantastic bloke, fantastic human, a very good copper. And what he's spoken about there is that what a variation. So, yeah, okay, the entire time he's been a police officer, but his job has changed from one extreme to another, to another, to another. So it's like having multiple careers within his 44 years of service?
Yeah, 44 years.
Bloody hell, mate. I did 15 and I feel like an old man. So that's just incredible. But, yeah, so, I mean, to start off, the general duties, people sort of, I don't know why. Like, my good mate Brett Meredith, who we've spoken about, who died in 2010, 2009, 2010, he used to say, GDs is where it's at. Yeah. And he was right. GDs does everything. That's when you call the cops, that's where you go. Well, I think the beauty of the police force is that GDs is hard going because it's full-on shift work. You're dealing with a lot of domestics, you're going job to job to job. It wears you down. And sometimes you need to move on. But the beauty of it is you don't have to quit. You can move on in the job to a specialised role or something different or step back. Like he said, PCYC. So you take your knowledge of what you've learned in general duties and take that to the Police Citizens Youth Club as PCYC. And I know that it used to be a lot more active over 15, 20 years ago, the PCYC was really active in most jurisdictions, I think. And that was where you're engaging with young people in a sporting environment. It's like building that relationship and showing that the cops aren't the bad guys. It's, the bad guys are bad guys. It's not the cops. And the beauty of that is then you get to move on again and do other specialised roles. So I think the beauty of the police force is that, and I was very fortunate early on, I got an opportunity, as I've mentioned, to go into investigations pretty early on. But I never thought that that's it. I'm a detective now. I'm going to do this forever. I thought, no, the beauty of it is I've gained this experience. I've got this training. I've got my designation. I can always come back as a detective, but I can always go back to general duties and go back and take some knowledge and skills back to general duties and do it from a different perspective. So you basically, when everyone comes out of the academy or the college and becomes a general duties police officer, and then you learn your trade, you learn the very basics, and you go and do investigations or something similar like that, and you see a whole new world. And then obviously 7 years in TRG. Well, TRG is dealing with critical incidents all the time, and when you're not dealing with critical incidents, you're training for them. So that's real. And I hate the term paramilitary. It is paramilitary. For God's sake, they train with the special forces and they train with other police tactical groups because they need those skill sets. But they also are still police, so they're not the army. The Defence Force is focused on defeat the enemy, all that sort of thing, and of course they do peacekeeping. There's other things no different, but no, I'm not running that down at all. It's just that policing's a different role. You're dealing with civilians, you're dealing with your citizens, but there's times where those citizens can be an almost military level threat. And we mentioned William Biller's shooting. That's something that requires a military level response. And that sort of thing happens a lot. So you then get to deal with those critical incidents where briefings are super important. You're locking down a scene. You've got inner and outer cordons. You're basically isolating a situation from the community to protect the wider community while you deal with this incident. I was lucky enough to be a police negotiator from 2014 until I finished my career. And as a police negotiator, it's a part-time role in the NT. There's not a permanent negotiation unit. I mean, there is, but we've all got other jobs in the job, and we come together when a job's on. But we work very closely with TRG. And so I got exposed to that real critical incident stuff where you're right in the inner sanctum of a major incident that's going to take hours or days to resolve. So he's taken that experience. He then moved into water policing, into drug squad. Like, he's just covered every single aspect there is to policing. Now, it's taken him 44 years to do it, but I think the beauty of anyone who wants to go into the police, I really want to be a forensic scene of crime officer or a forensics officer, because that sort of thing gets promoted on TV and stuff. And don't get me wrong, the beauty of it is there's a job in the police force for every personality type and every body type, but it's all grounded in general duties policing, in just being able to solve a problem, to turn up, to speak to people, and to carry out your role as a police officer. I think the beauty of it is once you've done that for a while, you can go into a job that really suits what you really want to do. There are some people who, the more, you might be a bit introverted, and you're really good at analytical to just be able to focus for hours on end on processing a crime scene. I have assisted, there was a lady in the NT who was an outstanding forensics officer, and I helped her out on a crime series in Katherine in about 2009 or 2010. And by the end of the day, I wanted to end it all. It was not mine. I take my hat off to forensic people, and I get it. There's a personality type. They love that. They love that analytical. To me, I need a bit of excitement. I need human interaction. That's not me. I'm an extrovert, but there are certainly people who really thrive in that. So there's a place for everybody. Major crime investigations require a bit of a crossover. So a major crime investigation may go for not just months but years, and you may have other jobs on at the time, and you are chasing every rabbit down every hole. It's extremely thorough investigative work, and it's not for everybody. Detectives who love a bit of a chase and love a bit of a mystery, but also love building relationships with bad guys and getting human sources and solving problems and using manipulation within that group to sort of catch high-level drug dealers in drug squad. So that's all about the use of technology and the use of human sources and things like that, and building intelligence pictures to work out the webs of people who provide drugs. So stuff like that is actually really, really exciting, but it's analytical to a point. I actually really enjoyed Drug Squad, but I didn't necessarily love the people I was having to deal with. So, you talk about I've often related when I was in Trident, I relate that to the movie 21 Jump Street. It was just wearing T-shirts and jeans and rolling hard in unmarked cars, and we were in pursuits and we were kicking doors in all the time, and it was a cool job. And that's all well and good. That's the fun bit, but from behind that, there's lots of paperwork. So um, there's just so much variety in what you can do in the police force. If you really love liaising with the public, if you love just talking to people and being the representative of the police force, well, they've got the Coffee with a Cop program. They've got police-based, school-based constables.
Yeah.
There's so many things that you can do in the police force that it's just such a varied career. And I think that's the one thing that keeps people going. Is like if you're finished in one area, you just go, I'm just done. This job's just killing me. You don't have to quit the police force. You can just move into another role.
Yeah.
You and I have both mentioned it, that it's really important that you earn your place in the police, and I think that's done through the early days and the hard slog of general duties.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But the other thing is, mate, some of my very good mates are blokes in their 50s and 60s who've been general duties almost for life, and they've been, if not for life, they've done other things here and there, but they're back in GDs, and they are legends of the job, and they love the rough and tumble, and God bless them. That's hard going. It's hard work. It's tough on your body. It's tough on your mind. It's really brutal on family. And yeah, let's say if you want that absolute variety of, you turn up to work every day and you don't have a clue what's going to happen, I would almost say that's most jobs in the police force, but general duties especially, 000 dictates where you go. And if you're not doing that, you're following up on things you've dealt with already, or you're going proactive to make sure things are right. So it's the variations are unbelievable. What are your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, mate. I was sitting there thinking, like, a number of people have asked me, how long I was in the police for, and you say 10 years, but you imagine the amount of stuff I've fit in 10 years. And for anybody that's going into the police, my advice would be, if I got an opportunity, I took it. And that's, you create a name for yourself as well. If you get in there, get stuck in, do it hard, and then other opportunities will come your way. Some of my favourite times was I got to work in the family and domestic violence unit, and while that's a very, very stressful job, it was also very rewarding. Those bush stints, you did probably as many as I did. You got to run stations. I got to take over a station and run it for 3 years in Arnhem Land, and that was, that was really good. And then I also got to be a prosecutor. So, not only was I actually, arresting people and dragging them in and putting them to court, I was also prosecuting them in court. Which I really loved the court atmosphere. It gave me a good understanding, and it gave me, I looked at things differently after I was a prosecutor, and how you actually investigate and bring people before the justice system, because you learn little tricks of the trade. The jobs are endless in the police.
Yeah.
They literally are. You think, Damo, you and I have been involved in a couple of murder investigations, and one of mine, especially the Old Street, towards the end of that, all I did, it was my job to obtain all the CCTV footage around Catherine within a 4-block radius, for 48, basically 24 hours before and 24 hours after the murder. And I had to watch it. I sat in an office for just about 2 weeks straight for 18 hours a day, creating a log of all this video footage I'd exhibited. And, and that was, I didn't complain about it. I got that job and I did it to the best of my ability, and I got rewarded for that. So, and that's, as you're saying, some people like to be, introverted and all that sort of thing. It's a perfect job.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, so I made that job fun. We had one little guy that Indigenous guy that used to walk around Catherine, and yeah. So my thing, like, just to make it fun when I was doing it, I used to sit there and just see when I could see him in the video footage, because he always popped up in just about any CCTV footage around Catherine. He was a good guy, but it just to try and entertain myself. But yeah, it's I don't know, like the police. You got the water police. You get to go out to some amazing places.
Yeah.
Like travel all around the territory. You did quite a bit down in the southern regions, and I just about did everywhere north of Tennant Creek.
Yep.
Right out to the from the desert, right out to the coastal to the islands.
Mm.
Absolutely, I did a croc attack, helped investigate a croc attack that
Yeah.
happened out in Black Point. So, if you put your heart into the job, you will get the rewards of some amazing jobs. And like you said, Damo, you just never know what you're going to get sent to next.
No, and that's yeah, and it's good. I don't know. Now, at this point in my life, I think I'm so grateful because we did all that. We did all that wild shit when I was young and able, and we did some really distressing stuff, and we did some really fun stuff, and we did some wild things like a helicopter lands next to the police station. You get on board because you got to go get some poachers out in the national park. Like, yeah, you know, what did you do today? Oh, I went to work. We went to the pub. Then we did this, did that, did that. I was like, holy bloody hell! What'd you do all day? Oh, process some accounts in a bloody computer. Like, I'm not knocking anyone's job. It's just that the variety within the police was just incredible, and it feeds you and it keeps you going. And it's good. I think it's funny that we talk about things that you enjoy. I used to go back and forth, so you might feel like you've sort of want a different challenge from general duties, and you go and do something else like investigations for a few years. And I loved going back into general duties, having been in crime for. I went back in Tennant Creek. I'd been in criminal investigations for 3.5 to 4 years, and I went back into general duties and acting shift sergeant in Tennant Creek. And I loved the fact that I got to teach people how to do stuff. I really enjoyed that. And I think that's why I enjoy my current job, where I get to train people and I get to learn and listen from them, but I also get to, put forth a bit of knowledge and share that experience and just explain a few different things. And yeah, I think the beauty of the police was that variety. It was just so good. You could do incredibly different things. And you might be dealing with absolute scum of the earth one day, and then the next day, like for example, when I was in the coronial investigation unit in Alice Springs, I've spoken about the rewarding jobs episode where the Trafina Gorge search, where we're literally liaising with people in Germany about their parents who've passed away in Alice Springs. And look, out of tragedy was born good relationships with excellent people, and the fact that they really appreciated what we'd done, and that was extremely rewarding. Well, the reward comes all the time. You sort of always feel like, no, I've made a difference here. And even if there'll be days where you've had a terrible day and you've been abused all day and you might have got in trouble in the job. Like you might have stuffed something up and your sergeant's given you a clip, or someone higher up's told you need to do something different, or who knows what it will be. But it seems like you push through the bad and the good's there. And you always, I don't know many coppers, of course there would be some, but I don't know many from our era who would look back at their career and go, it was just all shit. No, it wasn't.
Yeah,
It
no.
wasn't. There was some really good stuff. We did some great stuff. Like I remember pinching myself during driver training at the college going, I can't believe we're being paid to do this. We're being taught professionally how to do burnouts, how to control slides, how to power slide vehicles, that was the best fun. That was so good.
Yeah.
We got paid to do that.
Yeah, no, exactly right, mate. It's I may or may not have driven the cars a little bit like that when going to jobs in the police. I will not confirm nor deny.
Yeah, I'll confirm it. We drove the rims off them, but it was legal, and we didn't do it stupidly. We were well trained, we were professional, and we did what we needed to do. And there are times. Actually, I'll segue slightly. I'll go off topic slightly. Normally, ambulance officers, because I'll just give a bit of background. Quite often, when paramedics turn up in an ambulance, there's two of them there. If they have a patient that requires quite a bit of care, then quite often both paramedics will have to work on that person in the back of an ambulance. Any emergency vehicle trained person, being a firefighter or a police officer, can drive that ambulance. So and I've driven ambulances on a number of occasions for paramedics in the back, and there was a bit of information that came back to us that paramedics don't like when cops drive because we drive we drive too fast, and we're too. And the reason for that is we're trying to drive quickly and efficiently to get to a job. We're not trying to drive necessarily smooth. Smooth is the wrong word, but we're not trying to keep a stable platform in the back of our car. We're holding on and we're driving fast.
Yeah.
So in Alice Springs, I'll never forget. I think I mentioned the actual job where I had a fella stabbed in his underneath his, basically through his armpit underneath there, and he had a stab wound that extended right into his lung, and he was critical. He was very close to death. Well, I drove the ambulance back from that particular scene, and I'd already been told that the ambos don't like police driving. So what you do is you accelerate very, very gently, so that you don't create G-forces in the back of the van. You just keep the ambulance moving, but you don't brake hard, you don't accelerate hard. You just try and manage the energy of the vehicle in such a way that the guys in the back can stand up and do their job. And I'll never forget, as we were driving back through the gap in Alice Springs, there's a huge roundabout just north of the gap, only like a couple hundred metres. And I was driving full lights and sirens in an ambulance at about 60 kilometres an hour, trying to keep it nice and comfortable so they didn't have to move anywhere. And they've said to me, you need to stop. And I went, what do you mean stop? And they said, just stop. We have to get a line into his arm. So I stopped the vehicle really slowly. It took me 30 or 40 metres to bring this vehicle to a complete stop without throwing them around in the back of the ambulance. And I'm sitting in the middle of this massive roundabout with traffic going all around me, looking at me like, what the hell's the ambulance doing? Full lights and sirens going, and the vehicle is stopped in the middle of this roundabout. And the reason was they had to get a cannula into this guy's arm. So, and then they go, okay, keep going. And you just very gently accelerate away and keep the vehicle moving. The beauty of that was it was so foreign to us, because to us, emergency vehicle driving means get there. For them, it means get there, but keep it smooth and keep it steady. We're treating a patient. So it's a different world, you know. Now that I do a lot of firefighting stuff, and I'm a firefighter myself with the RFS, I'm not fire and rescue. We don't climb into buildings and rescue people. I deal with bushfires. But now that we're training that, we often drive big, what called Category 1 tankers or Cat 1 tankers. They're a medium rigid big truck. Everyone's seen those big trucks. Well, they're a high performance vehicle. They are not, Schultzy. And we're in regional areas. We don't need to run red lights and stuff like that. So we put the red and blues on. I never put the siren on because it's too bloody noisy. But it's not a high performance vehicle. We just poke along steady. So it's that exposure to all different things. And like who gets to drive an ambulance is not a paramedic. You know, well we did, but plenty of us did. It's just and the list goes on, mate.
Oh, definitely. I just want to touch on something there. That I was with a group of friends, and basically one of them turned around and goes, "What would be the best, or what would be the favourite job? You know, you could do. What job do you want to do?" And I just turned around and said, "I've done it." I said, "Policing was, the amount of excitement and joy and fun we had. Yes, there was some shit times, but I'll tell you what, there were some bloody great times as well. And and like I said, no, I've done the best job I've ever done in my life is definitely policing. And yes, it does scar you. There's no two ways about that. But I'll tell you what, I wouldn't change a thing.
No, you're right. And look, the best profession I've ever had was policing. The best job I've ever had was dad and husband.
Yeah.
That's those. I mean, in life, that's why I am what I'm. That's why I'm no longer in the police force.
Yeah.
But as far as profession goes, mate, it was excellent. It was really good. There was a lot of things to whinge about, and legitimately, there were things that were wrong. But you look back, and I always look back and smile. And it was. The variety was excellent. And God, you get to see some country. You get exposed to incredible things. The Northern Territory is unique in that the Indigenous culture up there is so raw. It's people live and breathe it. They're out in the communities. They don't know anything else.
No, that's right.
You get exposed to that, and you get accepted in increments. You've got to earn that respect, and so to be exposed to that as well was just incredible. Like it was, some of the things we saw, some of the violence, like some of the war zone stuff, you know.
You see some horrific stuff and horrific injuries, even to the point you sit there and go, like, people that are alive and you're going, how the hell are they? it's pretty horrific stuff. But it's yeah, mate. It's an incredible lifestyle. Like I just remembered a job there. I was flying back into town in Police Air Wing, and of course a plane went down. So we were actually part of the search because, of course, everybody gets called to search for this plane that's gone down.
Yeah.
And we're weaving and in and out. And I was lucky enough. I knew the pilots really well in the Police Air Wing. It may or may not have been called Schultz Airlines at one stage, but so I was flying up the front in the cockpit with the pilot, and he is doing low flying, searching for this plane, and we finally did find it. And luckily, the occupants were right, the pilot and the passenger were fine. It was carrying a deceased person back out to the community for burial,
I
which was
remember that. Yeah.
unfortunate.
Yep.
But yeah, in the back of the police plane, poor old. I mean, I think there was a family flying back into Darwin, and all their kids were sick, and half the police officers were sick to the point that we had to go and refuel back on Groot Island after we found the plane and marked it and send all the coordinates back in. We had to send them up to the hospital to get injections to stop them throwing up.
Oh
Because
yeah.
of all the crazy flying, just trying to fly in, this plane that had gone down. But that's something that happens just on you, like you just jump on an air wing to fly back to Darwin, and then you get called off onto that. So
Yeah.
it's it never ends. The excitement never ends.
No. No. No, it's one of those jobs where it's just everything's different, and you know the beauty. I think the one word that I always come back to, and I think it's the reason why a lot of war veterans struggle when they get back from war or they get out of the military and everything else. It's purpose. You've got so much purpose. When the big
Yep,
job's on, people are relying on you. You've got an extremely important job as a relatively young person.
yep,
Um, and I've mentioned it before, you're doing the stuff that makes the news. Everything you do is, well, not everything, but a lot of what you do is really interesting stuff.
yep,
You know, there's a reason people like listening to podcasts and reading books about murder mysteries and things like that because it's interesting. I know it's terrible. A lot of people, a lot of civilians I talk to, they love a murder mystery, all that sort of stuff. And I go, man, murders are, for one, they're horrible. Like you turn up to a body that's been killed by another person, it's often violent. You're
yep,
looking at a human body that's been killed by somebody else. Secondly, from a detective's point of view, it's an extreme burden. Like you're being held with the highest responsibility that you
yep,
now represent a person who cannot represent themselves to bring about justice for them. So it's an extreme responsibility and a hell of a burden. It's also, from just a human factor point of view, extremely exhausting.
yep,
The hours involved and the work involved, and the fact that anyone can work out. Well, I think he did him. It's not about what you know; it's what you can prove. So you've then got to go into that. You've got to go control the emotion of the wow, that was like a really full on scene, and go into the right. We have to meet these points of proof. This person killed this person. We can prove that it was unlawful for these reasons. They were here. Link it all together. Remove every possible defence.
yep,
It's not a matter of removing that. It's for proving what you're doing. It's a discovery of the truth. So an investigation is nothing more than a search for the truth.
mm,
But to carry out that search, you have to comply with legislative requirements, and that's all to do with procedural fairness to people and things like that. So there's a lot to it. There's a hell of a lot to it. It's not a 1 hour episode with ad breaks. It's a hell of a show, and I think that's the reason I don't like murder mysteries is because I've done the real thing, and it's not like that. Don't get
no,
me wrong; it's very interesting. It's very purposeful. I'm so grateful that I got to be involved in that.
yep,
This is people's tragedy. You know, there are people someone's lost their life. Another person is a very dangerous criminal. He needs to go to jail, and it's your responsibility to make all that happen, not you individually. You're going to be working in a big team, and I suppose the variety there, and we've spoken about the camaraderie and teamwork. It's you as a team have to solve that problem, and you will be a part of a crew that does a very important job. So
yep.
I think that's
I think one thing I will just touch on, especially when you talk about murders, I've always used the saying. I said you spend as much time disproving as you do proving, because what you're disproving, what you're doing is you're chasing down, you're following up leads so it doesn't give defence something to throw at you to say, why didn't you look at this? So and that inadvertently actually proves who did it.
Well, and I'll add to that in that what you're trying to do is to discover exactly what occurred, and you look at it, and I love that saying, and I think I used it early on: disinterest.
Yep.
You come into this with the level that you're not interested in the outcome. There is disinterest. You have to investigate what occurred to this person, who did it, and especially when you go, right, this person has been killed by another person, it now becomes essential that you find the person who did this, because you don't get to take human life in this country and just get away with it. It doesn't happen. That's all part of the values that we have as Australians, and not just us. I mean, everywhere in the world, you're not allowed to just murder people. So it's the biggest of responsibilities.
Yeah. Mate, I just wanted the other thing I want to touch on there, like just saying how, once you get out of the job, like you have this sense of responsibility, and it's a massive responsibility. And I remember my last year in the police, I was always in a senior role, and I remember thinking, like, because it was just time and time again, somebody would come in, because I was also the prosecutor and all that sort of stuff, and we'd get an arrest, and everybody would turn to me and go, "Okay, what are we doing?" And I go, "Okay, you do this, you do this, you do this." Basically, I'd step it out if there was overtime involved when the plane came to pick up the prisoner. I would, most of the time I would actually call to get him remanded in custody and all that sort of stuff. Massive responsibility. But because I mean, you're organising troops to make sure the job gets done. But
Yeah,
I remember sitting there one day, like especially towards the end, I'd sit there and go, just I wish somebody else would do this. I wish
yeah,
somebody else would do this. Do you know the biggest thing I missed when I left the police was I didn't get to do it anymore.
yeah. No, look, there's times where I look back, but it's very funny. I went to a structure fire the other day in the RFS, and there were two police officers there from Dorrigo and just areas around the area. And I got chatting to them, and one of them was talking to his partner just in part of the downtime, and he had video footage of a young man who was an absolute scumbag, who basically bashing up a farmer after he'd been doing burnouts, and was just a well-known crook in the local area, but just a low-end thug, basically. And I looked at him and I just went, you know what? I've been there. I've done it. I've moved on. I'm happy with what I'm doing now. And I'm glad I don't have to deal with them anymore. So
yeah,
it definitely takes its toll. It's a job you don't just leave and move on and get over immediately. It's taken me, I would say, a year or two to realise that I'm happy. I'm content that I'm no longer in the police force. But yeah, mate, once you're a copper, you're always one. It's always there. You've always got it.
And you'll miss it like a cocaine addict misses cocaine.
That's me old saying, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know it's not good for me, but we had some good times. Yeah.
Just to actually, before we finish up, I'm going to give a shout out to Dom. I met Dom today, first time ever. He was helping out with something I was dealing with today. Anyways, he's a young lad, fit and all that sort of thing. Anyway, just talking to him, and he was kind of interested in being a police officer. So I started chatting about it and all that sort of thing. And then I turned to him and I said, yeah, because you get a good grasp of people, you read people quite well. That's one of the things the job, I think, gives you. You can actually really judge people. And anyway, I looked at him, I said, mate, you've got a good moral compass and you've got a good, sound mind. I said, you know, you might want to think about a career in the police. I think you might enjoy it, because he was, liking some of the stuff I had to say. So a shout out to him, mate. And I'll get him to listen. He hasn't listened to the podcast yet, but I'll get him to listen to this episode. Because I think this will, it'll just firm up some of the stuff you get to do in the police and some of the variety of jobs. Because one of the questions he asked me, he said, what did you think the police gave you that you can use later on in life? And you know what? It's endless.
Oh,
The amount that you learn and the opportunities you get, and the what you learn in the police is just phenomenal.
yeah.
It really does help you out in later on in life, and even when you want to go to a different career, all that sort of stuff. Like the stuff I'm doing now is a leadership role, and I'm really enjoying it. Because you get to that's what I learnt in the police.
Mate,
So,
the transferable skills from the police force are unbelievable. There's so many things. Yeah.
mm.
But mate, I think we've threshed it out fairly well. What do you reckon?
I think so, mate. Yeah, we're at 44 minutes, and I do apologise, Jack. We did have a couple of stories in there, and we've always got a couple more, but unless you, and of course you've got a story that comes to mind, Damo, to finish it off.
Not really. Mate, my brain doesn't work. I can't remember this stuff. The thing is, it takes a conversation with somebody and they go, oh, yeah, I remember this. And, but there's thousands of stories. I just can't remember them.
No, that's
Anyway.
right. And there's sometimes people put you on the spot and you just can't remember them.
No.
Yep. No, sorry, Jack. I do have one, but I'm not going to say it. Because
no. That's a story for another time.
No, the reason being is because it actually involves, and I think we probably need to discuss this. And if anybody's interested, let us know, especially you, Jack. But I think we should talk about drugs and the effect it has on people and all that sort of thing. And this is a really good story that involves somebody that was that had taken ice. So
yeah,
and I know you've got a couple as well, Damo. So maybe we can do one, especially in relation to drugs and some of the effects it has.
Yeah, we'll probably talk about that.
Oh yeah,
no, for sure.
But anyway, mate,
as always, it's always a pleasure.
Yes, mate. Yep, as always. And look, if anybody wants to contact us, like I said, we've had 2 emails now sent to us on contact us at tillordinarycops.com. But otherwise, send us a message through our social. Usually that's the main way, either through me or through the Two Ordinary Cops Facebook page. Or if you know us, text us, or if, like Mark Berry, mate, call me up and abuse me because I did forget, and I do apologise for not actually catching up and having a beer with him when we were up there on Anzac Day. Yeah. But, we love all the feedback. Damo, you want to finish it off, mate?
Yep. 200 Cops signing off. All the best. See you next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, mate.
Yeah.
Two